Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engine. Today we're working on an Aaron's 21-inch push mower with a Briggs and Stratton Intek 6.75 overhead valve engine. Um, it don't start. They were pulling the rope till the rope broke. So we're gonna tear into it and see if we can't get the thing running again. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay, I'm getting ready to start working on it, and I see there's a fuel shut off on it. So that tells me when it's sitting, the carburetor must leak. So we're gonna get that, so you don't need to have a shut off on there no more either. But we'll go ahead and take the air cleaner cover off. Number 5/16. Then the primer button's right here. It's attached to this air filter base and the air inlet. We'll go ahead and pop that off. And that primer feels kind of weak, so we're probably gonna replace that too. And unhook the vent tube there. And we'll go ahead and take the carburetor off. It means there's a fuel shut. I'm gonna take the gas tank off anyway and drain it and blow it out. Make sure to have no debris or water in the tank anyway. But being there's already shut off on there, we can unhook this fuel line here and don't have to worry about it leaking right now. And the two bolts take this off for 3/8. We have these Intek 6.5 overhead valve engines. They're a good engine. But you gotta take care of them too. And we'll spin this around, unhook the governor linkage, and there you go. I'm gonna clean that off before we tear it apart. And I'll go clean it off real quick here. Then I'll blow it off. And I'll go ahead and take it apart. So there we go. Okay, this bottom nut here, that's the jet too, but it's a 1/2 inch. And your jet is built right in this brass nut thing here. That's your main jet right there. Carburetor don't look too bad. We're still gonna boil it out. Well, there's a rubber seat right down in here. That's could be like the reason why it leaks when it's not running. And sometimes I notice even these plastic floats, you can put a new needle seat in here and it'll still just barely drip out of it. And what I found, I just put a different float in there and it works just fine. So we're gonna try a new seat in there and see if it don't stops leaking. If not, I'm just gonna put a different float in there. But I'm gonna go ahead and boil this out. I know it looks clean and all, but just want to make sure all the little holes, air holes, holes and fuel holes and everything in there and nice and clean. But to get that rubber seat out, I just take like a little screwdriver, stick it in there and turn it. Just don't damage the sides. And just take your air hose and blow in it and it'll shoot it right out. And there you go. There's that seat right there. This little rubber little thing. And with the gas nowadays, we could soften that up or, anything happens. So we're gonna put a whole new carburetor kit in it. But first I'll boil it out. I use an ultrasonic boiler when I boil these out. But if you don't have access to one of them, any kind of dipping solution, carburetor dipping solution, works just fine too. I use that for 20 plus years of stuff in them cans. And if you can't get any of that, this good old fashioned carb cleaner does the trick too. Go and get this turned down here. Grab the carburetor. I'm gonna grab the jet here and put it inside the bowl here. Set it in there in the bottom. Grab our carburetor. It ain't so bad, so I'm probably gonna put it on maybe like 20 minutes. Let that do its job, and we'll go and put a key in it. But while we're doing that, we gotta take the top off the motor and put a new recoil rope in there. So we'll do that next while this is boiling up. Okay, we'll pop this little top plate off here, and there's gonna be three 5/16 inch bolts on top. There's gonna be 1 3/8 bolt on the side down here. We'll pop all them out, and this whole cover will come off. Then we can get to this tin housing underneath that. We're gonna take a lot of stuff off to get to it. Let's see, we have some Phillips screws that pop off too here. A lot of stuff just to get to the recoil. There's that piece. Okay, then just grab a pair of needle nose or something and get them out of there. I was going to take all this off anyway, even if the rope was broke, because I want to clean the tank out anyway. And the whole thing pops off. There's a little spacer that goes back behind here that goes between the tank and the block. I just dropped it down here. I'll grab it. Get something to reach it with. Don't lose that little spacer. If you put your tank back on, without that, there you'll break that bracket off that holds that bolt on there. That little spacer that goes right here like that. And if that's not there, you tighten this up, you'll break this off, and your tank's going to start leaking. So we're going to set that right there so we don't lose it. Now we can take the recoil off. There's a bolt for the oil filler tube. That's a 5/16. We'll pop it off and turn it off to the side. Then there's 4 bolts hold this recoil on. Plus there's a 5/16 that holds that muffler guard on. There's 2 bolts here and there's 2 bolts at the back. We'll get that off. But we'll do the dipstick one first. And you don't want nothing going down in your oil, so we just lift it up, pop it out of that slot, and turn it away so it's out of our way. And there's this muffler guard here. And there's that tab there. And bend that tab up so this will pop off. Then the 4 bolts hold it on are all 3/8. There's 2 in the back. And there you go. And the rope broke right on the end, so there you go. And while we got that off, there's debris in behind this little cover here and where your fins are for your head. I'm going to blow all that out so the fan on the flywheel can blow cool air down on the motor so the motor don't overheat. It means we got it all apart. I might as well throw a new plug in there too. I'll get the air hose and we'll blow all this out. There's leaves all over in here. You want to keep them running nice and cool. So and blow around the spark plug. And all that crap goes inside the cylinder when you change the plug. Like that. Well, I'm going to go grab a rope and get that recoil fixed. Okay, when I do recoil ropes on push mowers with the rope grip on the handlebars, I always like starting out with 7 foot. 7 foot of rope, because you can always shorten them. It's really hard to lengthen them. So what I like to do is to get these ends kind of hot. Melt them down so they don't fray out on you. And on one of them, I'll go ahead and put a knot going on one side. And we'll take this recoil here, and when you pull it back, see how the dog legs pull out? So that's the way we gotta wind it up. So here's where you put your rope in, right here, and it comes out right there. So we're gonna wind it up about 7 times. Like so. And I'll grab a screwdriver and plop it in there so it's not going to re-release and spin around, snag your finger or something like that. So we'll grab our rope, and the end that I didn't tie the knot in, let me go ahead and pop this out now and line it up. I know it's hard to see the camera. I'm trying to do the best I can. Just feed it through there. Then you should have like a couple of foot and a half left. That's it. That's what goes on your handlebars and stuff. So we'll grab the handle here. And go ahead and do that. Then on this side here, just heat that up again and flatten it out so it can't come undone. So now we can go ahead and put this back on the motor. And I believe the carburetor should be almost done. So, okay, before I pop that cap on, or the top on, I'm going to change that plug real quick. It's right out in the open when you have that shroud off. And on these overhead valve Briggs motors, it takes that 12 YC spark plug. And you can tell it's due for a new plug. I use the original Briggs and Stratton spark plug. That's a 49 1055T. Make sure it's gapped properly. That gap right about 33 to 35 right in there. Make sure it clips on there like that, so you know it has good contact. As to see why it don't run, there wasn't really nothing inside the carburetor. I didn't see no water in there or no debris. Maybe this thing just needed some TLC or something. When we put this on, that's going there like that, and then it pops in there like that. Make sure that everything's all snapped in there good like that. And I can come around, get the dipstick, pop it in place over there, and just double check everything. Make sure nothing's bound out like the governor linkage. Don't want to tighten nothing down if something's bound up on it. We'll check the back here. Everything looks good, so we can go ahead and tighten her down. So we'll get these front bolts lined up. And get the two back ones. Okay, now we can bolt down the dipstick tube. That's a 5/16. So like it's raining pretty hard outside right now. I'm gonna bend this bracket down for the muffler shield and get that lined up. Okay, now we can put this cover back on. I'm not gonna put it on the way. I'm gonna get the tank put on first. But the boiler timer went off, so I think we should go ahead and put that carburetor together real quick, and we'll bolt the carburetor on next. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. Okay, just got the carburetor out of the boiler. Came out really nice. So what you want to do, where that brass hole is right there, you spray in there and you make sure your carburetor cleaner has a nice stream coming out of here. So we gotta do on that piece right there. So then I got the new seat. It's kind of rigid on one side and nice and smooth. This is the side that you want facing you. So we're gonna go ahead and plop that in there, and you have to press it in there. Get it lined up right. And what I like to use, I have a 3/16 drill bit. Make sure there's no spur. Make sure it's not. This only thing I use this drill bit for is this. Just make sure there's no sharp spurs on it or nothing on the bottom. Because you have to press it in there. Stick it in there and you turn it upside down. And just push till you feel that thing pop in there. Might take a few times. And it's set in there all the way in the bottom. It's pressed in there. It's not going to come out. And when you're done with that, take your air hose and just gently blow in there to make sure there's no debris in there. I'll grab the air hose here real quick. And just gently make sure there's no debris in there. Okay. Grab our bowl gasket. Set one side down on there and hold it there. And just kind of take your screwdriver. And that's how you do that. Now I'm just going to put a new float in there. You know, you shake, there's nothing in there. But sometimes I've seen it, you put a new needle and seat in these doggone things. And you put it on, put gas in there, and it'll, like a half hour to an hour later, all of a sudden gas starts coming out of there. And what it will end up doing is getting inside the crankcase in the oil. You don't want gas in the oil. So I'm not going to mess around. Put a new float in there. Pop it in there. Grab the pin. Line everything up. And just make sure you have a little bit sticking out of each end. And our main jet's right here. And there's two holes on the side. One here and one here. Then your jet's right there. The gas comes in here and it goes into the carburetor. That's what regulates the gas. So plug one side up and you'll see that nice stream coming out of there. And if it's not a nice stream, I like using this little wire that came off a flywheel brake cable. You just stick it in there. clean it out. And get your air hose and blow it out real good. And grab our new gasket. Get our bowl. Then go ahead and tighten her down. And that's ready to go. And this, this gasket, that primer gasket, looks a little bit different than a lot of the Briggs and Stratton gaskets are. Here's one that's like on probably 80% of the push mower engines. But the primer thing is on this here. And you can see it's a different style. And we're going to put a new primer button in there anyway. But we'll get to that after we get the carburetor on. So let's go ahead and put this thing on. Okay, that big hole right there, that's where the governor linkage goes. And get our bolt started here. Make sure nothing's binding up. Now we can go put that tank on there. I drained it out, blew it out, put new gas in there, but I left this on off switch on there till I know the carburetor is not leaking. Once I know the carburetor is not leaking, then I'm gonna replace that fuel line because it looks kind of old and grungy. So I'm gonna put the 3 bolts on top, them 5/16" bolts, but I'm not gonna tighten them down all the way. We still have to put that 3/8 bolt. Let's get them started. It's like about halfway down the threads. It's loose, but it ain't gonna come off. So now we'll put that bottom bolt in on the back. We grab that spacer and you put it behind that hole there. The only about these big old self-propelled mowers, there's not much room there. Now we can go ahead and tighten up them top ones here. Okay, now we can put that piece on. Make sure they're nice and tight. And I kind of screwed up here. Normally these handles ain't that big. Usually this, the regular rope grip fits in there. So I'm gonna have to undo this. Stick it through there. Go ahead and snap that in place. Now. There we go. Now I'm hook up the fuel line and I'm gonna let it sit for at least a half hour, an hour, just to make sure there's no gas dripping out of here. And we'll continue. Okay, the carburetor is working great. It's not leaking, so our next step is to replace this primer bulb. And on the new one, we're gonna be using the Stins. And that part number is a 120-174. But the clip you got, there's brackets here, so you have to push these brackets in and you get a screwdriver and push it out of here. So let's go ahead and do that. Just gotta be careful, this is all plastic stuff. That's how you kind of push it up in there like that, and we'll do that to the other side. Push it on that and bring it up. And just work it back and forth because it's been there for a while. And voila. There you go. And there's that screen in there. You can see there's some dirt on there. I'm going to gently blow that off and get all the debris around there. So this fireball acts as a gasket too when it gets pressed in there with that clamp, so you don't want no debris around there. So I'll gently blow that out, make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, and before I put that new one in there, I'm just going to spray just a little bit of WD-40 around on that bottom, just a little bit, just to help seal that primer bulb. This takes just a little bit, so it's all nice and wet in there. So we'll take our new primer bulb and the clamp, just slide it up in there like that. And when you push it in there, these parts of the clamp where it hooks onto, make sure it lines up with these holes here. And take a screwdriver, make sure the tip's blunt. You don't want it sharp. But just gently slide it in there. And when you get down to where it clicks, just push it in there. And kind of like spin the screwdriver, and it locks in there. As you can see, it's locked into place. It's all ready to get put on. And we got our new gasket. There's some pins where it goes on, so it don't fall off when we're putting it on there. Just like so. Now it's all ready to go. Now we'll grab our 2 bolts, and this vent tube goes on here. Press it on there. Line all that up. Get them started. That's plastic, so you don't want to go over torquing it. Now I got a new air filter. Get that put on there. Make sure that foam's all nice so dirt don't get on the bottom of that. Then when you screw it down, it'll have a nice tight seal on it. Gotta get lined up though first would help. Okay, before we get too carried away, I want to check the oil on it. You can see that's nice and clean oil. It's full, so. And while you work on it, check your blade. If your blade's dull or wore out, go ahead and sharpen it to replace it. But I believe now we can take it off the table and see if she runs. So I'll put some gas in it, put it on the ground. We'll see if we can get this started. Okay, I put the gas in it. I'll push the old power ball. It says 3 times. See what it does. Well, it seems to me it runs good. It just, when you have a leaky carburetor, I suggest getting it fixed. What probably would have did, it probably got in the cylinder and probably fouled out the plug or something. But she seems to run good now. Anyways, appreciate you watching the video, and thanks for watching. You have a good afternoon.